Kash Patel leaned back in his chair, calm and confident. He'd worked in intelligence. He'd worked in the White House. Now he was in a different game, media, and he played it well. Always sure of his words, always aiming to stir things up. The host knew this. That's why he booked him. The audience liked drama. Patel liked giving it to them. Midway through the chat, Kash leaned in a little closer to the mic. The tone shifted just enough for the room to notice. His eyes moved briefly off camera, then back. He lowered his voice, but not enough to seem worried. "I'm just gonna say it," he said. Jasmine Crockett's been taking money from foreign donors. The host blinked. That wasn't in the notes. Wait, what? Not through her campaign, Kash added. Off the books. I've heard from people in the know. Some Middle Eastern, a few Chinese nationals. It's out there. The host didn't push. He raised his eyebrows, but the conversation rolled. On no names, no proof, no pause. Just said it and moved on, like it was nothing. But a WASN's single quotes. By that evening, a 14-second clip from the show was everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. Some headlines screamed Crockett scandal. Others didn't bother with question marks. It racked up 2 million views in a matter of hours. People were arguing in comment sections before dinner. Meanwhile, back in Dallas, Jasmine Crockett was wrapping up her day like any other. She didn't know yet. Her team didn't know. But the messages were already pouring in. Angry voicemails. Emails with subject lines in all caps. Reporters asking for a statement she hadn't even heard about. Her press secretary, Theo, was the first to put the pieces together. 1 second, it was just another podcast. The next, it was the center of a political firestorm. No one expected it. Not the host, not Kash, not even Jasmine. But the line had been crossed. And once words like bribes and foreign money are spoken, especially about someone in office, they don't just fade away. That episode wasn't meant to go anywhere. No one in that room thought it would change anything, but it did. Because sometimes the biggest stories start with a sentence no one thought through. And this one? It had just begun. Jasmine Crockett didn't explode with anger when she saw the clip. She didn't yell. She didn't slam her phone down. She just froze. Her eyes locked on the screen as Kash Patel's voice played from Theo's tablet. She watched it twice, once to believe it, once to feel it. Then she looked out the window and said nothing for a few long seconds. Her staff didn't know what to do. Theo stood in the doorway, still holding the tablet. Another aide. Whispered, "Is this real?" No one moved. Jasmine finally turned back and said, "Call Michael. I want legal options on the table." Tonight, she didn't flinch. She didn't ask for advice. She gave a decision. That night, in a quiet meeting around her kitchen table, she sat with her lawyer, Michael, her campaign advisor, Rena, and Theo. No big team, no outside press, just the people she trusted. Michael laid it out clearly. Straight defamation. We go after him. $80 million. Jasmine raised an eyebrow. That number seems loud. Michael nodded. Exactly. He made it loud. We answer loud. By morning, the lawsuit was filed in federal court. No cameras, no press conference. Just a 10-page document delivered to the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas. The case name alone caught attention. Crockett v. Patel. But it was the demand that really shook the room. $80 million for spreading false, damaging claims. A legal punch straight to the chest. Jasmine didn't do a cable tour. She didn't book an interview. She recorded a 30-second video in a plain office with white walls and soft lighting. She looked directly into the camera and said, "People think you can say anything about a black woman in Congress and get away with it. That we're too busy, too tired, too cornered, to fight back. I'm here to show them they're wrong. No music, no edits. Just facts. The video was shared over 1 million times by the end of the day. Newsrooms everywhere scrambled. Legal experts started weighing in on air. One on CNN said, "This is one of the cleanest defamation cases I've seen involving a public figure." Another wrote, "If Patel doesn't have proof, he's in serious trouble." Social media exploded. People picked sides. Some believed Patel. Some didn't. But everyone was watching now. On conservative podcasts, hosts doubled down. They called it a witch hunt, cancel culture, a scare tactic. Patel went on another show and laughed off the lawsuit. 80 million, he said, sipping coffee, for telling the truth. Come on, he called Jasmine a loudmouth and said she was playing the victim. Then he added, I've got sources, DC insiders, people who know. But again, no names, no evidence, just talk. His legal team winced. Crockett's team, on the other hand, smiled. Quietly, Michael looked at the interview clip and said, he just handed us malice on a silver plate. In defamation law, public figures, like Jasmine, have to prove that false claims were made with actual malice, meaning the person either knew it was false or didn't care. And Patel, by repeating his claim after the lawsuit was filed and still offering no proof, had just made their case stronger. Things moved fast after that. Sponsors began to pull their ads from Patel's podcast. One network that aired clips from his show suspended him. 2 political websites quietly removed the original article quoting him. A few of his usual allies on social media stopped sharing his content. The story wasn't about Crockett anymore. It was about Patel and the hole he kept digging. Crockett didn't celebrate. She didn't react. She stayed silent, on purpose. While Patel bounced from show to show, defending his words with no facts, she was building a timeline, a paper trail. She knew she didn't need to outtalk him. She just needed to outlast him. Behind the scenes, her team collected every clip, every quote, every social media post. They printed them, marked the timestamps, added them to files. Theo said it best. He's out there chasing attention. We're here chasing proof. And proof, it turns out, was on their side. The studio lights felt hotter than usual. Kash Patel sat stiffly in his chair, the sharp edges of his blazer digging into his sides. This wasn't a podcast or a friendly space. This was a nationally aired primetime segment. Clean set, polished host, cameras everywhere. His team had told him this was a chance to reset the story, a chance to push back. This is your moment, one of them had said. You're just telling your truth. Behind the scenes, producers had slipped a memo under the studio door. It was short and serious. Avoid reckless speculation. Let the guests speak. They didn't want a scene. They wanted a smooth segment, but smooth was never really Patel's thing. The countdown hit 0. The red light blinked on. The host, Corbin. Dale leaned in with a smile. Tonight, we're joined by former White House advisor Kash Patel, who's been at the center of a storm after his comments about Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Kash nodded like he was ready. Like he had nothing to hide. Corbin didn't waste time. Let's go straight to it, he said. You said Jasmine Crockett took money from foreign donors. That clip went viral. She's now suing you for $80 million. So, can you name any of your sources? There was a pause, just a second longer than it should have been. Kash looked to the side, just off camera, then back. I mean, I heard it from someone who works close to oversight, he said. Real close. They said there were whispers. The room went still, the kind of still that hangs heavy. No camera movement, no music, just silence. Corbin didn't jump in. He waited, letting the silence stretch. Do you have documents? I asked quietly. Anything showing proof. Kash shifted in his seat. It's not about paper, he said, forcing a light laugh. It's about patterns. I've worked in D.C. I know how things move. Corbin didn't smile back, but no names, no evidence, just whispers. Another pause. Kash shrugged. That's all I'll say. The segment was meant to clear the air. Instead, it caught fire. Within an hour, clips from the interview were everywhere. On TikTok, users stitched together his awkward pauses with captions like, "Translation, I made it up." On Twitter, a legal analyst tweeted, "That wasn't a defense. That was a live confession." Reddit threads lit up with titles like the $80 million shrugged. Then came the emails. A journalist from the Minnesota Ledger got a tip. Internal. Messages from Patel's media team had been leaked. The emails were dated weeks before the lawsuit was even filed. One read, "We don't have anything to support this." Another from Patel himself said, "Let it cook. They won't sue. And if they do, I'll win the public, not the court." That line made headlines on its own. News anchors paused their regular coverage to talk about it. Legal panels played the clip from Corbindale's show again and again. One professor on a news show said, "This isn't about speech anymore. It's about recklessness." Another added, "This is what actual malice looks like in real time." Even Patel's usual defenders started to step back. A conservative blogger tweeted, "I support free speech. But when you accuse someone of a crime with zero proof, that's not speaking truth. That's just being dangerous." Crockett stayed quiet. She didn't post anything, didn't do interviews. Her team didn't need to push the clip. The internet was already doing it for them. One of her staffers said, "He gave us the final piece." On camera, 2 million. People across the country started reacting, and not just political commentators. Students shared the clip in civics classes. Veterans posted videos saying, "This isn't about party. This is about respect." Parents posted side-by-side comparisons of Patel's interview and Crockett's quiet response. The contrast was loud. The media gave it a name, the Crockett Standard. It meant something different to everyone. For some, it was about standing your ground without shouting. For others, it was about seeing someone finally push back against public lies and actually win. And for many, it was just refreshing to see a public figure stay calm, steady, and honest, even while the other side tried to turn everything into a circus. A news anchor in Chicago said during a panel she didn't scream. Throw dirt back. She stood there with a binder of facts and let the world see the difference. For Patel, things were shifting fast. Sponsors disappeared. His podcast views dropped. Book deals were paused. People who used to share his clips now quietly removed them from their feeds. The truth was simple and now public. He didn't have proof. He never did. And when he had the chance to explain himself, all he had were whispers. It wasn't just a legal loss unfolding. It was a full-blown collapse. And it was happening live. The courtroom was quiet when the judge gave the green light. Full discovery. That meant Kash Patel would have to testify under oath. No cameras, no edits, no spinning the truth. Just questions and answers, recorded word for word. Jasmine Crockett didn't need to be there. Her lawyers went in her place, armed with documents, dates, and his own words. When the deposition started, Patel looked tired. Not angry, not confident. Just tired. The questions were direct. Do you have any first-hand knowledge that Congresswoman Crockett accepted foreign money? No. Did you speak to anyone who said they witnessed it? No. Did you verify the claim before saying it on a podcast? He hesitated. I didn't think I needed to. That answer echoed across every news outlet that night. After that, Patel's team quietly reached out. They offered to settle. They suggested a public apology and a large payout. But Crockett said no, she wasn't chasing money. She didn't want an easy out. "I didn't file this to get paid," she told her team. "I filed this because truth matters." And that truth kept spreading. More networks dropped Patel's shows. A publisher that had planned his book tour canceled the deal without saying much. His regular podcast went on indefinite pause. The messages stopped being supportive. Even people who once stood with him started deleting old clips, pretending they never believed him in the first place. Meanwhile, Crockett's case started showing up in places no one expected. A teacher in Missouri used the deposition transcript in a media class to explain the difference between opinion and defamation. A journalism school in Florida updated its ethics syllabus with a section titled The Crockett Standard. Some small news outlets started adding a new rule: no more anonymous political claims without documents or proof. Letters came in by the hundreds, then thousands. From teachers, from moms, from students. Some were long, typed, and formal. Others were handwritten in shaky cursive or messy marker. One came from a 16-year-old in Ohio. "Thank you for standing up when you didn't have to. You reminded me that truth still matters." Another from a retired Army vet read, "I've seen men run their mouths with no backup. You showed the world how to handle it with strength and calm. Even in Congress, things changed." People who rarely agreed with Crockett on anything started showing her quiet respect. Not with praise, but with nods in the hallway. Short emails, small moments that said, "We saw what you did, and we respect it." Patel, on the other hand, faded fast. His name stopped trending. Invitations stopped coming. He posted a vague apology late on a Friday night, saying, "To those affected by my statements, I regret any harm caused." But by then, it was too late. The story had already written itself. He wasn't the bold truth-teller anymore. He was the guy who said something he couldn't back up and got called out for it. Crockett didn't get louder. She didn't take a victory lap. But she didn't need to. Something about her felt heavier now, not in a bad way, but in the way someone earns quiet power. She stood her ground, didn't shout, didn't break. She let the truth work on its own time. And in the end, that's what stayed with people. One news anchor said it simply: she didn't just win a case. She reminded us that facts still matter, that words still carry weight. And they do, even on a podcast, even when it feels like nobody's listening. Sometimes, the only way to prove it is in court.